love for you, then come on with you. What I say? I told you there was no real niggas, man, you gotta deal with them. What I say? I told you she ain't got no love for you, she don't really fuck with you. What I say? I told you take care of your fam, stand on your square, be a man. What I say? I told you they ain't got no love for you, they ain't come on with you. What I say? I told you there was no real niggas, now you gotta deal with them. What I say? I told you she ain't got no love for you, she don't really fuck with you. What I say? I told you take care of your fam, stand on your square, be a man. A cold world, I know. Time moves fast when you tryna chase a bag, that's facts. At last, niggas finally see your check. Haters wanna knock you off your apex. They mad, cause your bitch ain't loyal. Broke the code, put a price on her soul. Get a hold of your life. You could blow overnight, or you could fuck it all and lose control. Suicide, it's a suicide, yeah. It's a big difference between you and I. And I'm super straight. They say you 6 million ways to die. Choose your fate. I ain't gon' lose the case. Prove your worth, nigga. Move your weight. Keep your nose clean before you lose your face. What up your face value? We don't know your face. I step up in this bitch like I own the place. I pay close attention to they tone and pace. Is he really built? Will he fold or break? Life is guns and water, baby boy, you straight. And I got it in either hand, I mean I hold your fate. Never know, it could be your time to go today. Who knows, a nigga like me might show you the way. Seal his fate with a kiss from a rose on the grave. I stand on anything I say, what I say. What I say? I told you they ain't got no love for you, they ain't come on with you. What I say? I told you there was no real niggas, now you gotta deal with them. What I say? I told you she ain't got no love for you, she don't really fuck with you. What I say? I told you take care of your fam, stand on your square, be a man. Mercy, mercy, Lord have mercy. Why niggas hate me? Show me no mercy. Brother forsake me, woman them hurt me. Mercy, mercy, ay, Lord have mercy. Okay, walk like a champion, talk like a champion. You don't hear that send me blow. Pump, 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 pump. Put up on your set slow. You don't hear no engine. Put a body on the gun wide. Walk like a champion, talk like a champion. You don't hear that send me blow. Pump, 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 pump. Put up on your set slow. You don't hear no engine, put a body on the gun wide. Mercy, mercy, the wicked have no mercy. So I gotta stay with a blicker, niggas be thirsty. Quicker than the flick of a picture, niggas could murder me. Catch you with your dick in these bitches and do you dirty. But I'm God body, I put that shit on the jersey. No weapon formed against me shall hurt me. Go to war on your turf, I put you under the surface. Mac 10s, Mac 11s, call a nigga Bernie. Open up the chest of a nigga, the bitches burning. Living by the scripture that's written in this discernment. I see that window closing, can't be playing in the curtains. I ain't playing like the circus, I'm a man with a purpose. Can't be laying with the serpents, keep the squares out your circle. You ain't standing on your word, what kind of man are you? X you out, cross you over, I had to sham guide you. Can't stop a nigga, drive the beat, they can't guard you. Hell has no fury compared to what God do. I'm a whole gangster, my nigga not partial. 38 special, this nigga think he's special. I go ahead depart you, I ain't finna argue. Walk like a champion, talk like a champion. You don't hear that semi blow. Run, pump, 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 pump. Pull up on your set slow. You don't hear no engine. Put a body on the gun wide. Walk like a champion, talk like a champion. You don't hear that semi blow. Run, pump, 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 pump. Pull up on your set slow. You don't hear no engine. Put a body on the gun wide.
Stopped here have a you who stopped
Shalom, shalom. Change this title if I could. Bear with me, bear with me. I have to edit this title after. But we here though. What's good? What's good? What's up? What's up? Shalom, shalom. We back. You know, I'm gonna have to edit that title, but it should say, right? You know, the beast shall hate the horror in the valley of decisions, right? So yeah, we're gonna get into it though, right? You know, we'll get into these Bible prophecies. You know, of course we checking in on a timeline and seeing where we at in this thing, right? On this biblical timeline as we apparently marching towards Armageddon, right? So of course, before we start giving all praises to the Most High God, we do so in His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, who the world might know as Jesus Christ, right? So yeah, we're gonna get into it, So them people over there acting a fool, right? Over there acting a fool. You know what I'm saying? He went over there like I was telling somebody, I'm like, the best way to understand what's going on over there is that movie Four Brothers, right? Right now, America is looking like Victor Sweet, at the end, when everybody just turned on them and let them let them go at it, right? So that's what it's looking like, right? The ending of Four Brothers, right? Oh yeah, we're gonna get into it though, right? And all that cool stuff. Like I said, they over there fighting. It's funny because the man put sanctions on Russia. Then now, he's like, all right, okay, since we can't get to the oil over there, all right, okay, it's cool to buy oil from Russia again. So then the allies like, yo, we supposed to be, we can't buy oil from Russia because we at war with Russia, and that's gonna, enrich them and and make them able to fight longer because we paying them. So he's like, nah, that's some of them saying that, right? So then he's asking Russia and China for help. Right, well, it's crazy, right? It's crazy. So yeah, it's looking all bad, right? Like a great black philosopher once said, everybody got a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? And so they over there, they was acting like they over there doing things and stuff, but apparently they didn't take those people Iran down like that. I mean, if they stopping them from getting through that little corridor right there, right? So it's getting rough. You know, it's getting rough. So, but yeah, we're gonna get right into it though, right? Where should we start? Let's go to the book of Daniel real quick. Let's go to Daniel. Let's see what our dear brother Daniel was trying to tell us. Right? Let's start at Daniel 2, Daniel 2, verse 40, right? So now this is, if you're familiar with this chapter, this is the statue in Nebuchadnezzar's dream, right? Then, all the different body parts of the statue was different kingdoms that was going to come into rulership after the Babylonian kingdom, right? And then, if you're familiar with history, all those kingdoms that was prophesied came into rulership. And now we're living in the time of the 10 toes, right? So, that's the final kingdom, if you're familiar with biblical prophecy, right? So, that's the context of this whole thing, right? So, let's start at 40. So it says, "And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron. For much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdue all things, and iron break in pieces all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise." Right? So now this is talking about the first Roman Empire, right? When they was in their dominance, they were going around, the military might was super strong. They had military garrisons and all over the known world, right? And which end up being partially their downfall because they end up stretching themselves too thin, right? So, verse 41, it says, "Whereas thou sawest in the feet, in the toes, part potter's clay and part iron." So now, this is the new revised Roman Empire, right? What we dealing with, the EU, NATO, right? So now even though if you go back to the old the Roman Empire, you look at their providence and the different territories that was under their empire, it matches up to what NATO to the NATO nations and the EU nations today, right? And so just so happened we're talking about them. So it says, "In the feet, it says, whereas thou sawest the feet, in the toes, part potter's clay and part iron, the kingdom shall be divided." And that's what's going on. When we see this stuff on the news, they're divided. That's why I'm saying that man over there looking like Victor Sweet right now, trying to ask for help, and NATO like, "Nah, homie, we ain't got nothing to do with that one, pimp." So, and he's, asking for help. And so, that's why it says, the toes should be part of potter's clay and part iron, the kingdom should be divided. So they're divided, because politically, they're, bumping heads on a lot of issues, because you got, Trump talking spicy to Spain, talking about how they don't help out and, how he can use their bases if he want to, even, and use any other NATO member base if he want to, if he, choose to. Just talking real disrespectful and spicy, right? And then you got that issue. Then you got them not, being on one accord on how to deal with the Russia issue. Then also the Middle East issue and so forth, right? Then, some of them is not liking how he got down in, with the whole Greenland and Venezuela and everything else, right? So there's a lot of things that they're kind of not, vibing with, with each other on, right? And, then it says, "The kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be strength in the iron." So the iron is talking about their military might, because, of course, NATO, EU, they have a strong military. That's why in time past, a lot of countries was hesitant to kind of, go against them and kind of rival against them. But now a lot of countries is getting confidence and they're seeing a wounded animal and they like it's blood in the water. So now they like, all right, we can do something. Cause think about this, right? People forget, and it's so funny. 'Cause I be seeing people just talking like, this place is just some type of steamroller. Like they just a bulldozer. They just gonna just bulldoze through every nation on this planet. They just, this champion, right? And if you understand, if you realize, right? They went against what was it? They fought against Iraq in Afghanistan, right? They didn't win, if you can understand, right? They got kicked out of Afghanistan, right? They've been there for like 20 years, right? The needle didn't move, not nan which way. I mean, only thing they probably got out the deal was fentanyl, right? They end up coming up with some artificial heroin because they couldn't really fully get the poppy, the poppy feels like that. So they're like, what, it's fine, we'll artificial this thing, right? So then, Iraq thing was, a failure because, like I said, they ain't got, the China done moved into that, getting a little influence down there. So it's crazy, right? So people just think they was going to just steamroll this nation. Have y'all forgot this is ancient Persia, right? These people was, when we read like this chapter right here, Daniel chapter 2, these people were like the second nation after Babylon. And, if you understand the quality of the statue, so there's basically like one of the greatest empires that ever existed outside of Babylon, right? And very powerful military, very strong warrior-like people, right? They ruled the world. They ruled the known world for about a few hundred years, right? So don't sleep on them. That's all I'm saying, right? They'll have them tap into that old ancient Xerxes and King Darius spirit. You know what I'm saying? Them people, like I said, because it's crazy. But anyway, so it says, and of the strength of the iron, for much as thou saw the iron mixed with myrrh and clay. So, again, the military is strong, because they have military bases all over the earth, right? All over different, nations and stuff like that. They have the fastest response time, amongst the military, because they have bases everywhere, so they can get to any part of the world within 12 to 48 hours, right? But again, with all that being said, they can't really fully agree on things politically. That's why certain things, they can't be as dominant as they would like to if they can just be on one accord, because it says the kingdom shall be divided. And it says, and as the toes of the feet were part iron and part clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. So that's what we're seeing. They're partly strong because, the military is still strong. They got the technology, but they're partly broken because they just can't get along. They like Rodney King. Like, why can't we all just get along, right? Because they can't. Because they all have their own different philosophies on how they want their dominance to be projected, right? And then a lot of them is getting tired of, how America is running things, right? And they want to separate themselves from that type of leadership, right? So it's a lot of dissension going on. Then, so then it's also affecting their military, even though that's their strongest asset. But because their politics ain't right, it's affecting their military, because war is politics, but just politics with a gun. So then it says, and whereas thou saw The iron mixed with myrrh and clay shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. And that's what this place had done. This place became a melting pot. Got all different nations all here. And it mingled itself with men, And they try to push this whole rainbow coalition, we are the world type of thing. But it's not so. Because it says, but they shall not cleave to one another. And when we don't cleave to one another, everybody is divided here, right? Everybody find a reason to separate themselves from each other for various reasons on a day-to-day basis. You don't like what this person says, so now you never ever talking to him ever again. You block this person, right? You know what I'm saying? Then you have racism, right? You have racism on top of that. So this place project, like this is the place, the land of the free, and it's a melting pot, and you can be you and all that stuff. But nah, this place is home of the slaves, right? Land of the enslaved. That's what this place is. So, and it says, let's get Revelation 17 real quick. And it say, Revelation 17 and 15. And he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth are people in multitudes and nations and tongues. So again, it's talking about America being that whore that ride upon this beast, and she sit upon many waters because her reach is so far, because they have military bases all over these continents, right? You can look on the map and see where all their dang old military bases is stationed at, right? And so it says, and then they influence nations, they influence other nation policies and stuff, and right, and a lot of other nations depend on, the exports of this place also. So it says, he that said, he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the horse sitteth are people in multitude and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. And that's what's going on there. They despising this place right now. That's why they're not looking to back them up, right? And if we go into our dear brother Obadiah and we keep reading what our dear brother John the Revelator is telling us, they're going to do more than just not back them up. You know what I'm saying? So, then it says, and the 10 horns that thou saw upon, and the 10 horns that which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. So, when you turn on the news and you see them, talking, spicy about this place and talking about how, and not helping out, and Trump got to beg them, and then at the same time he like, well, I don't really need y'all help, but y'all need to help, right? So it's getting crazy, it's looking ugly, right? Because they have a treaty. That's what made them so strong. That's what made it to a point where it at? Let me see if I can find it. Where is it? Where it at? Boom, boom, boom. Dun, dun, dun. Where it at? Trying to find a part where it says, and who shall make war with the beast, right? Boom, 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 boom. Evidence 16. But the point is that once they form this thing, Hold on, I think this might. Nope. Boom, 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 boom. But anyway, I ain't gonna spend too much time. But so like I said, so once they came together, they was like, who should make war with the beast? Because once they came together, America had the nukes. You know what I'm saying? Then they started spreading them out to their closest allies. So then no other nation wanted to come against them, right? But all that's gonna change. But over here, so it says, and the 10 horns which saw upon the beast shall make her desolate. Wait, hold on. Yeah, so shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. And that's when those thermonuclear weapons go off, right? Because eventually they're going to get fed up with all of this, right? They already, not backing them up at the moment. Who knows, some of them might, have pity, but who knows? But it's going to get to a point where it says, and shall make her desolate and naked, and eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the word of God shall be fulfilled. And that's what's going on. So they riding with this, right? Because God put the spirit on them, and then in that day they're gonna turn on the whore, and they're gonna burn her with fire, like we just read, right? And we can see the precursors for things like that happening. Let's get let's go back to Daniel real quick. And boom, boom, boom. Let's get first. No, we don't need that. We already understand that's the Romans. So let's get this though. Let's get 2nd Ezra 11. Right? My dear brother, 2nd Ezra. Boom, boom, boom. 11 and 39. Real quick. And it says, are not thou it that remainest the 4th beast, whom I made to reign in my world, at the end of their time might come through them. So it's talking about, because America is the revised empire, so it's referring to him as the 4th beast. But we know America is the revised Roman Empire, and so, and what it say? It says, art thou that remaineth of the 4th, that remaineth of the 4th beast, whom I made to reign, who I made to reign in my world, that the end of the end of their time might come through them, right? So, like I said, so this kingdom came up of the 4th beast, right? Because you read about that little horn sprouting up, you read about it, Revelation, all that cool stuff, right? So that became America. So then it says, and I made thou reign in my world, that the end of their make them reign in my world, that the end of their times might come come through them. And that's the thing, because the end of their time will come to them, because like it tells us over here, right? Just real quick, if we can read this for the people real fast, right? Let's get second Ezra 6 and 9 real fast. It says, for Esau is the end of the world, and we know that Esau, his biblical nationality is Esau, the Edomites. So it's telling us, for Esau is the end of the world, because these people are the last kingdom. They are the 10 toes in the statue of Daniel. So they are the last people that's going to be ruling before Christ come back, right? And when Christ come back, he's cracking the sky. And when he cracked that sky, he's cracking it with the millions and millions of black angels with him, right? So this is their last ruah, their last everything, right? That's why they going crazy. And it says, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. Because, like it tells us in Daniel, that the world to come is for the Israelites, right? And it says, and the hand of man is betwixt the hill and the hand, right? So meaning, other nations, they gonna be ruling in between. They're gonna have their time to rule, but it's all about Jacob and Esau. Then once these people was out of power, then Jacob, that's when the world began. That's when everybody gets life, right? Because then the righteous will be in rulership, like the Bible tells us, right? So back over here. Let's get Revelation 18 and 1. It says, after these I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth enlightened with his glory. And he cried with a mighty strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and the cage of unclean and hateful bird. And that's what this place is. Very, very demonic place, right? A lot of evil spirits dwell in this place called Babylon, aka America, right? That's why, like, you can, you don't believe me? We see the Epstein files, right? We all see the stuff that came out through that. Very demonic stuff that this place is into, right? And it gets worse, right? These people, it gets way worse, right? And that's what this place is. For the nations have drunk of the wine and the wrath of her fornication. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And that's what all these nations have done. They have indulged themselves with the ways of America. They have entangled themselves with this place, right? And then doing so, they're going to have to face the same judgment as this place when it falls down, because they're so connected to this place, right? And it says, for all the nations have drunk the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through her abundance of her delicacies. Because they do trade and all that stuff with this place, imports, exports, all that. People get rich. Like I said, a lot of countries depend on, this place, to survive. And once this place go down, the old adage, cut the head off the snake, you know what I mean? So a lot of these other nations that, closely follow, is going to fall also, right? Just the nature of the gizang. And it says, back over at 2 Ezra 11 and 40, and the fourth came and overcome all the beasts that were passed, and the power over the world with great fearfulness over the whole compass of the earth with wicked oppression. That's how this place rules, this place with wicked oppression. That's why it tells us in Revelation that the beast shall hate the whore, because although they on the same team, but they're feeling that wicked oppression. Because Donald Trump gets on TV and tell them, I can land where I want. Gonna go to Spain anyway, right? And those, so it's like super disrespectful, right? It's talking crazy, right? So, and it says, over the compass of the earth, with much wicked oppression, and so long time dwelt he on earth with deceit. That's how these people dwell, with wicked oppression and deceit, right? They lie and they swindle. They like Eddie Guerrero. They lie, they cheat, they steal, right? That's what they do, right? So, and that's what we're dealing with. So, back over here. Let's go back to Daniel. Let's finish that off real quick. So, and it says, and as the 10 toes and the feet were part iron and part clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou saw the iron mixed with myrrh and clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of man, but they shall not cleave to one another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. Again, that's why America is so divided. Everybody, just mad about something, right? And find a reason to divide himself for whatever reason. And in the days of the kings shall God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people. So when Christ come back and set up this kingdom, with the Israelites, it's not going to be destroyed. It's not going to be conquered. Other nations not going to build their army up and come and then attack us, and and now we got to fight them again. It's not going to be none of that, right? It's going to be peace on earth, because everybody going to know their role and shut their mouth, right? So that's what's going on, right, in that day. And it says, and shall not be left to other people, but shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and shall stand forever. That's what's happened. It's going to stand forever. Why? Because it tells us over here. It says, but the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever and forever and forever. Right? So that's what's going on, because the kingdom is for the saints of the Most High, which is God's people, the Israelites, Black, Hispanic, and Native American people. Right? And that's our blessing. That's our promise. So it says over here, for much as thou saw the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and it shall break in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold. The great God hath made known the king what shall come to pass there hereafter, and the dream is certain. So Daniel is telling Nebuchadnezzar, like, your dream, God is trying to tell you, is going to happen, right? He had made it certain. And then Daniel was so cold. He's not like these little fake psychics and people that be flipping tarot cards and doing all the little dumbass stuff, right? He's not the Miss Cleo, right? We have history books. We can look back and see that our dear brother Daniel was spot the frick on with the stuff he said, right? He did not tell not nan lie. Every nation that he said was going to come into play came into play. Everybody that he said that was going to do what they did that, right? So, and he's telling the king Nebuchadnezzar this. God had made it known the king what shall come to pass hereafter. The dreams is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. So meaning this stuff is going to happen, right? Nothing we can say or do about it. It happened. And we know it happened. All these kingdoms came into play. We watched it, right? So, back over here. Let's get, matter of fact, let's go to Joel, right? Let's go to Joel. Chapter 3 real quick. And let's start with Micah 2:2 first. So it says, let's start at verse 1. It says, "Woe unto them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds." And that's what these people, these elites that's in control, that push policy and make legislation and do all this stuff that influence how things, operate on this earth. And it says, "Woe unto them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it." Meaning they come up with these ideas and they secret meetings and stuff like that. Then when when it's time to punch in that clock, when morning comes, they make it law. They go to the office, they go to whatever the court, and they make it law, and they push those agendas, right? And the people and the righteous suffer for it. Then it says, and they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. And that's what we say too, real quick. Like, they say, well, we can't be racist because we have no power, no infrastructure, no way to enforce our views or laws, so we can't be racist. But these people can, right? That's why Micah is telling us, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it," right? Because they have the power to practice these ideas that they come up with. We just a bunch of crazy Negroes, but they actually have the means to put these things together. And it says, and practice it because it is in the power of their hand. They covet fields and take them by violence. And that's what they do. They go into these different lands. That's what they're trying to do over there in Iran. They covet that field of oil and all that stuff. So they're trying to take it by violence. But it ain't working for them. And it says they take them by violence in houses. They take them away. So they oppress a man in his own house. And that's what they do. They oppress a person in their own house, right? By putting different citations and different laws and all this stuff. Or you gotta have your grass this long. You gotta put a fence here. You gotta do this. Taxing you on your property and all that stuff, right? And then, again, like I said, then not only that, just you can't even leave out your own house without being harassed oftentimes by these people, right? So it says, oppress a man in his own house, even a man in his heritage, because these people will take and rob and steal. They'll figure out a way how to get your money, right? Even if you dead and gone, they will still figure out how to get that money that you left, right? They're gonna get it eventually. And they're patient too. These people are patient. That's why they say blue collar crime. I mean, you got your blue collars and you got your white collars. You know what I'm saying? These people are very patient. They will wait. They so patient, they don't even have to receive it themselves. As long as it get passed down to their children's, to their kids. That's how patient they is. Right? Back over here. Let's get Joel. Back to Joel. So, Joel 3. And it tells us this. Behold in the days in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. And that's what's going to happen. He's going to take us back from all these different lands that we are scattered to and bring us back into the land that he had promised his people. Right? And it's not those people, obviously. Right? And so hold up. So, so it says, behold, I would, in those days, in that time, I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. Right, and that's what's going on. He's going to bring us back from all these different nations that we've been scattered to, in throughout captivity. right? In the four corners of the earth, going through different atrocities, oppression in these different nations, right? This is Second Ezra 15:21, real quick. It says, like as they do yet this day to my chosen. So, and that's what they do, yet as they do to this day, because they still mistreating us, right? We still marching, trying to get no justice, no peace, still trying to get some type of a semblance of equality out of these people, right? And you have some of us like, well, at least we made progress. It's not like how it used to be. Negro, they're never going to give it to you. You know what I'm saying? Well, let me help you out. I believe this song might help you out if you listen to it. It's a In Vogue song. It's called Never Gonna Get It, Never Gonna Get It, Never Gonna Get It, Never Gonna Get It. And listen to that song, right? You don't have to listen to the whole song. Just listen to that part, right? Then maybe that will help you understand. Just maybe, right? Because it says over here, like yet they do yet this day unto my chosen, so will I do also, and recompense in their bosom. Meaning God is going to bring it straight back to them. Everything they have done, He's going to pay them back for all the wicked deeds that they have done, right? Then it says, thus saith the Lord God, my right hand shall not spare the sinner. So God is going to deal with these people accordingly, right? Even the wickedness of our people also. Then it says, my right hand shall not spare the sinner, and my sword shall not cease over them that shed innocent blood upon the earth. And that's what these people have been doing. They've been blowing up hospitals, schools, and stuff like that, shedding innocent blood upon the earth, right? That's how these people get down. And the Most High God is not cool with it, and neither should you. Right? So verse 2, it says, I will gather all nations, and I will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. That's the valley of decisions, right? Because again, he's gathering all these nations, because the beast shall hate the whore in the valley of decisions. Right? I will gather together all nations, and I will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will plead with them. Therefore my people, right? How is he going to plead with them? Matthew 24:7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And that's what we're seeing right now when we see on the news. Nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, right? Then it says, and there shall be famine. And that's what's coming, because if these oil prices start going up, because people don't understand, like we look at oil, we think gas, we put gas in our car, but we don't understand how much everyday products need oil and how much that's going to raise everything, right? We forgot when Russia first went into Ukraine, how the gas prices went crazy for a while until they had to figure something out, until Biden had to cut a deal with the Saudis to try to, get a little cut on on the prices, right? Because the prices was crazy. I'm glad I didn't live in a certain area, because I've seen certain places down there $7, $8, right? That's crazy, right? I mean, where I'm at is crazy too, but $7, $8, damn, $8, you know what I'm saying? That's crazy. Ain't nobody going nowhere. Shit, we walking. God dang it, we're gonna get a freaking what they got, a skateboard, something. It's crazy, but it's wild. Because it says, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famine, right? And famine, because again, once those oil prices go up, because that's energy, because you need oil, for energy, right? For your gas, to turn your stove on, to run your lights, your food, the farm and all that stuff, to run the tractors and all that stuff, and the processing plants, all that cool stuff needs this black gold, right? This liquid gold, they call it. They need it. And because they need it, and it's going to be very scarce, because they're going to need it to put in those war machines that they using, because you need oil for war, because that was one of the reasons why Hitler lost. Germany lost because they stopped, they ran out of fuel. They couldn't supply their vehicles fast enough. And then, and then it was getting, then the Allies came in on them. So they couldn't, move the troops and get their whole logistics right. So that stuff is very important, right? That's not the only reason he lost, but that was a major part of why he lost, right? Then it says, shall be famine and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places, right? And that's what we're seeing, right? And it's going to continue. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse, right? So we just got to keep an eye out, watch these things. It's going to get crazy. And what it tells us right here, and all these are the beginning of sorrow. So when we seeing all these things, we know this is just the beginning. So it's jacked up now. Everybody's like, oh man, it's messed up. Oh man, I hope they get it together. Oh geez, this is so horrible. But our big brother Christ, our King, our Lord and Savior, what did he tell us? He just told us right here. He just said, all these are the beginning of sorrow. Right? So you gotta keep that in mind. These are just the beginning. Like Young Thug told you, this is the beginning. Right? That's what it is, just the beginning, right? So yeah, that's what we're dealing with. So you gotta keep your eyes open, right? Like I tell us, be watchmen, right? And watch for the signs, right? So we won't get, caught up in lost in the sauce back over here. Joel 3:2. I will gather all nations and I will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel. So God is going to bring all these nations and gather them down to the valley, right? That's why Iran is like holding, Iran, they chilling off, right? They told Yemen, like, hey, yo, y'all chill real quick, you know what I'm saying? Just hold back, stand by, you know what I'm saying? Because they planning for, the big fight. Because what they say, they've been planning this thing for 40 years. They've been waiting for America to act bad. They've been, like, think about that. Like, oh my God, like, Christ told us that nobody goes to war without counting the cost, right? And these people been thinking about how to take this place down for 40 years, right? When we used to be flipping through TV or how the old folks say, these internets, and we used to see them back in the early 2000s, or whenever, if you can remember, and they used to say, "Death to America, death to America." We thought it was funny, right? Like, hey, look at them talking about death to America. Them people crazy over there, man. Look at them, burning the flag. Them people been planning for 40 years, right? They've been plotting and scheming, right? Death to America, right? And we thought it was funny. But sure, they told you, like, nah, homie, we've been waiting. Like, we've been, like, you don't say those type of words if you ain't ready, right? And they've been ready. They've been just been hoping, They've been wishing. And now they're getting the wish. And now they're getting ready to show everybody what they got. Right? So, but God says this. I will gather all nations. I will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat. And I will plead with them there for my people, for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations. And that's what these people have done to us. These people have scattered us among the nations through slavery and conquest, the Arab slave trade, the Atlantic slave trade, right? And even our dear brother, let's get him real quick. Our dear brother, tell us, Zechariah, tell us exactly what's going on in the world. So, Zechariah start with let's start at chapter 1, verse 18. And then I lifted up my eyes, and I behold 4 horns. So now these four horns is talking about Britain, France, Spain, and Portugal. Because these were like the main components that took our people into slavery from the West Coast. They took us over here, right? You know, of course, America branched out of Britain, right? They became that little horn. But it's saying, then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, four horns. And I said unto the angel that walked with me, what be these? And he answered me, these are the horns which scattered Judah, right? So we know history. We know how we got to the west, how we were chilling on the west coast of Africa, born and raised, you know, where I spent most of my day, right? You know, we was over there till them people came, right? We know the history. And we know the nations that took us, right? And those are what our dear brother Zechariah is referring to as the four horns, right? And it says, these are the four horns which scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. And they did that through slavery and conquest, right? And all that cool stuff, right? And it says, and the Lord showed me four carpenters. So now, and the Lord is, you know, now we got these four carpenters, right? And carpenters, we know, carpenters, they have, you know, different, you know, duties, right? But one of their duties is the demolition. And that's what the type of carpenters these are. These are demolition carpenters. They specialize in demolishing, right? You don't call them to build a building. You call them to tear it down, right? That's what these carpenters do. And it says, and the Lord showed me four carpenters, and he said, and I said, what come these to do? And he spake, saying, these are the horns which scattered Judah, so no man did lift up his head. So because these four horns scattered us and oppressed us through their, you know, oppressive means and slavery and their, you know, how they been dominating us for the last 500 years, we have no spiritual leaders or no political leaders, no black civil rights leaders that can actually stand 10 toes down and face these people and actually help the people and do something that can actually, you know, be beneficial to the people. We, you know, a lot of our so-called leaders, or they're all paid for, right? They all getting checks in their pockets, right? You know, from the government that they're supposed to be helping the people, you know, fight against, right? So it says that so that no man did lift up his head, because after our, you know, our so-called leaders did, you know, get assassinated, jailed, or deported, you know, the will-be leaders, you know, they got scared. They, you know, decided to, you know what, I'm just gonna go give me a 9 to 5. I don't know what I'm out here tripping for, you know, and they just stopped, you know, and they good at doing that. You know, a lot of, you know, they did that with the Black Panthers. One of the little movements they was doing, like there was the workers union thing or some little right stuff. You know what I'm saying? They had like some other groups that was working with them. Then they like, all right, we know how to fix this. We're gonna give y'all jobs. Just give them jobs. That'll shut them up. That's what happened. Same thing in recent history. You have the 99% versus the 1%. They're like, I know how to fix these people. Give them jobs. Then they stop being angry, right? But it says, but these come to fray them and cast out the horns of the Gentiles, which lift up their horn over the land of Judah to scatter it. So the bricks, these four carpenters, right? You know, we call them today in the news, you know, they're known as the bricks. But our dear brother Zechariah, he called them the four carpenters, right? And so the bricks, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South America, right? You know, and all their little countries that fall underneath them, right? Like your Irans and your Koreas and your Libyas and your, you know, all that, right? So it says, these are come to fray them and cast the horns of the Gentiles that lift their horns over the over the land of Judah to scatter it. So it's saying that these nations that took the Israelites into slavery, he's going to use the bricks to fight against them. In doing so, as the four horns get broken, get destroyed, that's going to free the nation of Israel, which is in captivity here in the land of the north, right? As our dear brother Jeremiah tells us. So, back over here. And it says, and I will plead with them there for my people, for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. And we know they did that. We know history. We just read it. They scattered us. So let's get Ezekiel 36 real quick. Let's start at 4. 36 and 4. Let's start there real quick. Therefore, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord of God. Thus saith the Lord God to the mountains, and to the hills, and to the rivers, and the valleys, and the desolate waters, the desolate waste, and the cities that is forsaken, which became a prey and a derision to the residue of the heathen that round about it. Because, again, we got expelled out of the land 70 AD. The land got destroyed, the Romans destroyed it, all that cool stuff, right? So now, we know those people that's over there, no matter which ones you want to call out, they ain't supposed to be over there. Not neither, right? And if you want to be technical about it. But even though one is more wronger, if that's the word, I'll be making up words sometimes. One is more wronger than the other, but neither, because it says right over here, it says, in the cities that forsaken, which became a prey and a derision to the residue of the heathen that round about it. So all the little other surrounding nations, once we got expelled and people started coming into the land throughout the centuries, you had your holy wars, your Muslims war, all these different stuff, everybody started flooding into there, right? And it says, therefore thus saith the Lord God, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen. So God's like, look, man, I got a problem with all you nations that's over there in my land claiming to be my people, or just in there, just living it up, like it's cool over there. Like this is just a playground and a paradise for you people to be over in my spot, right? So, therefore, thus saith the Lord God, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all, not some, but all Idumea, right? Talking about them people, right? And it says, which have appointed my land into their possession. And how did they do that? They appointed that land with the Balfour Declaration, right? And they decided to split it up and say, hey, you get that, you get that. How about you get that? Hey, you want some of this? They start passing it out, right? Now you got everybody over there, chilling, right? And we over here, not so chilling in this place. Got to deal with number 47 and everything else, right? So it says, which has appointed my land into their possession with joy of their heart. Because they did it. They thought it was cool. Like, man, it's a great idea. We got this Balfour Declaration, and we're going to just move these people that's over there and just take them up out of there in, various ways, and take these people, just place them over there. Everything's cool. Then, hey, anybody else want to come? Hey, why not? Because it says, appointed my land into their possession with joy of their heart and despiteful minds. So, to cast out for a prey. And that's what we see. They have despiteful minds, They came over there 70,000. That was the deal. If there was really a just people, they would have kept their word. If they was really the Lord's people, they would have kept their word. They would have kept the little 70,000 they brought over there, right? But they're not them, right? They're not them. They're not who they say they are, right? And we letting them off the hook. Well, we can't let them off the hook. The cat is out the bag. And it says, with joy of their heart and with despiteful minds, so cast out for a prey. And that's what they have done. They said, okay, yeah. And pretty soon they came and tried to take everything. Because they would not stop stealing. Because they cannot stop. They can't stop. Won't stop. You know what I'm saying? They can't. Right? They got sticky fingers. Right? They're like that cousin that you have to follow in the house and make sure they're not stealing anything. They go to the bathroom. You got to be like, make sure they get to the bathroom. Like, no, it's the other door. The other door. Not yet, right? Yeah, you got to do that with them. They was take it. Everything. That's what they do. Right? If people take stuff, I don't understand. Like, it's almost like, I don't know. It's like, once they steal it, then you realize, like, damn, you can steal stuff like that. I didn't even know you can. That's a thing. They find things to steal. That is amazing. That is a amazing talent to have. I don't get it. They will make up a crime. They are like AI. They will AI. These people are capable of AI generating crime and making it happen. Right? I don't know how they do it. They just do it. But that's how they get down. It says, with despiteful minds and cast out for a prey, prophesy therefore concerning the land of Israel, and say unto the mountains and the hills and the rivers. So, mountains, let's talk about the nations, because, it ain't talking about the literal mountains, because, the Bible always refer to different nations as mountains and hills and so forth. And it says, and rivers and valleys, and thus saith the Lord God, behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my fury, because ye have borne the shame of the heathen. Right? And that's what's going on. They have to bore that shame. That's why they over there fighting every day. Ever since they've been over there, been havoc, because they ain't supposed to be over there. God, like, all right, since you're going to be over there, you're going to have to, get these punishments for being over there till you get up out of there, right? It's almost like being in a haunted house, right? But these people are too stupid and too dumb to move out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you went over there, and you've been fighting ever since you went over there. Like it should, like, if he was really him, right? It'll be peace on earth, like it tells us in Isaiah chapter 2. But you're not him. So it's not peace on earth. It's fighting. Right? That's why God needs to raise up the Black, Hispanic, and Native American people, the righteous people of God, to rule this thing. Because we are him. Right? And we going to get this shit right back in order. Right? And ain't going to be none of that crazy stuff going on. Ain't going to be little babies getting blown up in hospitals and schools and crazy stuff like that. It ain't none of that. Right? Because we're going to be ruling in righteousness. Right? Everybody going to understand what they supposed to do. They gonna know they role and shut their mouth, right? Or else they gonna Revelation 2:26, right? So that's what the whole earth is waiting on. The whole earth is waiting for the Black, Hispanic, and Native American man to take back power and rule this place how it's supposed to be, right? That's the Bible tells us that the earth is groaning, right, because of the wickedness that goes on. Crazy. Prophesy therefore concerning the land of Israel, say unto the mountains and the hills and the rivers and the valleys, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my fury, because ye have borne the shame of the heathen. Right? Gonna get with them. Right? And another thing too, before we get back to Joel, because some people, I heard somebody say, they talk about God being jealous. They have a problem with God being jealous. God is jealous, right? But let me tell you, God is jealous for his people, right? Think about it. You know, if you in a relationship, you have you a lover, right? You're gonna be jealous for your lover, aren't you? You're gonna be furious if you see somebody, your lover, in another person's face, right? All smiley and gilly, all up in their face, right? You're not gonna be cool with that. People confuse God jealousy. He's jealous for his people. He don't want, you know, he like that guy at the bar that be like, sit right here, don't talk to nobody. I'll be right back. Right? Jealous. Right? You don't want nobody to mess with his people, and then he don't want his people to be all up in nobody else's face. You know, acting, being all promiscuous. Right? God don't like all that. So people get it all twisted. You know, they take the jealousy because, we're human, right? You gotta understand what they say, my thoughts is not your thoughts. That's what the Bible says. So when we look at jealousy as an unrighteous thing, something, because typically when somebody is jealous, in our point of view, we would, it's always something negative that comes with it. But this is righteous jealousy. This is, like, think about it between a man and a woman. Like I said, the same example. Between a man and a woman, if a woman is doing something that is off, and that man, is upset at it, that is called righteous jealousy. It's a difference between just being a psychopath. But no, it's called righteous jealous. Being jealous for a righteous reason, because he loves his people and he don't want no harm to come to him. Right? That's what it is. You should want somebody to protect you. Right? And make sure ain't nothing going to happen. So back over here. And it says, they have cast lots for my people and had given a boy for a harlot. And that's what happened after they took over the land. They expelled us out the land. They cast lots for our people, because what they do, they sold us into slavery. Right? 35, 45, 55, sold. Right? They sold us to, because it says they cast lots for my people and had given a boy for a harlot. They done trade a little young boy and for a little prostitute woman. Right? Or they done took the little boy and used him as a little sex object thing. It's crazy. They did these things. Right? History. Right? And it says, took a boy for a harlot and sold a girl for wine. They took our little daughters and sold her for a barrel of wine and alcohol. Right? For they can, get drunk on their little African villages. Right? They did these things. Right? That's what happened. Luke 21 real quick. And it say, uh, 21 and 24, it says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and they shall be led away captive into all nations. That's what happened. We were led away captive into all nations. At the fall of 70 AD of Jerusalem, then we fled. A lot of us fled into northern Africa. Then later, as time progressed, we made our way to Western Africa. A lot of us went into Europe and all that. So it says, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, because the Romans came and was murking everything. Then it says, and they shall be led away captive to all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. So meaning, the people that's in that land occupying it right now are Gentiles, right? Gentile, right? Until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So they're going to be over there until the time of Christ come back and tell them they got to go, right? And he's not going to ask them nicely. Right? And it says, until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Right? Deuteronomy 28. Real quick. And 64. And it says, and the Lord shall scatter thee among among all people from one end of the earth even unto the other. That's what happened. Transatlantic slave trade took us all around the world, right? Travelers everywhere, from one end of the earth into the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods. And that's what we did. We start following these different religions in these different lands that we're scattered to, mainly Christianity, right? That a lot of our people is sprung out on, in Islam and all that stuff, right? Then it says, which neither thou not thou fathers have known, even wood and stone, right? All this idol worship and stuff that our people, fall victim to and fall into, right? That's what we been, happened to us once we got scattered because of these people, right? And it says, they have cast lots for my people, Joel 3:3. They have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. Yeah, and what have ye to do with me, Tyre and Zidon? So God is telling these African nations, because he's going to get with them too. I know we talk about Esau a lot, but he's going to get with them Africans too, right? Don't think they getting off the hook. They're not going nowhere, right? Not going nowhere. Just as guilty, right? Guilty party, right? Charge them the same. Africans, Arabs, Europeans, all the same, right? All had a hand, right? None of them is innocent, right? Although we stuck here with Esau, but sure, it goes the same all across the board for them people too, right? Conspiracy. And it says, yeah, and what have ye to do with me, Tyre and Zidon? So these is African nations that God is telling, what do you got to do with me? Huh? What do you, what the problem is? Huh? What you want to do? Right? And it says, in all the coasts of Palestine, will ye render me recompense? Or like, hey, what you want to do? Huh? What you want to do? You want to fight? Huh? You going to pay me back? Huh? What you going to do to me? What you want to do? Right? That's what God is telling these people. Right? You're going to recompense me? Swiftly and speedily, I will return your recompense on your own head. So God, like, look, whatever you try to do to me, and they can only do it to us because we are his people. So all the stuff that they have done to us throughout this, our captivity, God, like, all right, I see what you're trying to do. But guess what? I will return your recompense upon your head, upon your own head, because you have taken my silver and my gold and carried it into your temples, my goodly pleasant things. So they destroyed his people, they robbed his people, and took all of our stuff, right? And put them in their little museums and their basements and their vaults and stuff like that, right? Got all of our stuff, right? And it says, the children. Let's get Do I need this? I want to get this real quick. Hold up. Let's see. Hold up. Let's see really quick if I need this or not. What was it? Let's see. Hold up. Wait a minute. So, Zechariah, 9 and... It says, yeah, I guess I can read. It says, Zechariah 9 and 16, it says, and the Lord their God shall save them in that day in the flock of his people, for they shall be as the stones of the crown lifted up as a sign upon his land. For great is his goodness, and great is how his beauty. Corn shall make the young man cheerful, and new wine the maid. So again, he's going to bless his people after he gathers us and take us from these different places that we've been scattered to, and judge these nations for what they have done to his people, right? So again, so it says, and ye have what ye have to do with me, Tyre and Zidon, and all the coast of Palestine will ye render me a recompense, and if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, I will return your recompense upon your own head, because ye have taken my silver, my gold, and carry into my temple my goodly things. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians. And we know the history. They sold us to the Grecians, and we know the Grecians are the so-called Caucasians today, right? They call themselves many names. We know them as Edom. They call themselves Grecians, Romans, all this. They make all these different names, right? They do these things. Hold on real quick. Set lock here real fast. Give me 1 second. There's anyway, so like it back. So yeah, they sold us to the Grecians, right? The so-called Caucasian people, and that's history, right? We know that, right? That's not. So we're reading stuff that happened to us, and we're seeing that God is going to get them back and gathering all these nations for all the atrocities that they have done to His people, right? And it says, the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. So that's what those little people, filthy people over there, those Canaanites, those Hamites, that's what they did to us. They sold us, to these Grecians. And now we're in the hands of these filthy, nasty beasts to this day. Right? Amos 3 and 5 real quick. And it says, can a bird fall in a snare upon the earth, where there's no gin, where there's no gin for him? And shall one take up a snare from the earth and have not taken at all? Right? So if you attempt to set a trap to catch, a prey, you're not doing it for fun, right? You setting up that trap, you're putting it in the right spot, knowing that this is a frequent area where, this animal travels, so you're looking to catch it, right? So, and that's what's going on here. That's what they was doing to us. They was looking to catch us. They was trapping us, right? As we were fleeing from the Romans and fleeing persecution, right? They was taking us, wrapping us up, selling us to the Grecians, right? And it says, behold, I will raise them out of the place where he has sold them, and I will return your recompense upon your own head, and I will sell your daughters unto the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians. So it's called justice. Just like how they took our people captive and sold us around the world, we're going to do the same thing, right? That's the God that we serve, right? A God of justice, right? The movie, what the movie Trading Places was based off, right? Justice, right? Because it says, I will sell your sons and daughters into the hand of the children of Judah. That'll be us, right? Then it says, and they shall sell them to the Sabians and to a people far off, for the Lord hath spoken it, right? And again, I forgot, I was trying to, I think the Sabians, they forgot I was looking at something about the Sabians, but I jokingly say, I hope the Sabians is far off somewhere, right? Very far off, like, jokingly saying this, because I know people go crazy, far off like ice wall, beyond ice wall far off, right? So, but yeah, sell them to the Sabians, get them out of here. Then it says, for the Lord has spoken it. Not me, but the Lord has spoken it. That's what's going to happen. Let's go to our dear brother Baruch real quick and see what he got to say about this. Right? Baruch chapter 4. Right? chapter 4 and verse 24. And it says, like as the neighbors of Zion have seen your captivity. Because these nations have seen our captivity. They've seen the hell and stuff that we went through. Because what did the Isla Tola say before they brutally took that man out, right? He said when he had those the Iranian crisis stuff, you know, he had the black soldiers. He said, hey, you people go through enough in America through the oppression and stuff like that. I know you guys don't run anything. You have no power in this situation. You know, you people are just victims of circumstances. You know what? You guys can go home, but the rest of these soldiers, they gotta stay. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even see. You know, matter of fact, I want to look this way. Y'all go ahead and go, man. I don't even know why y'all up in here, man. Why you get them? Huh? You should. Look. If you see black, relax. If you see white, get a knife. Right? You know what I'm saying? That's the rules. That's what they taught the soldiers to let them go. Right? They let them go. Right? Because it says, like as the neighbors of Zion have seen your captivity, right? Because they see the hardship that our people go through. It's not like they're blind to the world. They don't know what's going on, right? But they get rich, you know. It fatten their pockets to oppress the black man, right? To oppress the brown man. That's how they get rich, right? They see the rich in the glory that America made. They're like, well, gotta be something to it, I guess. Let's go over there and oppress them too. Just put stores in their neighborhoods and rob them for their monies, right? And it says, like as now the neighbors of Zion has seen your captivity, so should they shortly your salvation from our God. So as they see the punishments and the hell that we've been going through for the last 500 years or more, then they're going to see God come through with that mighty hand and save and rescue his people, right? And they're going to see the mightiness of his salvation, right? They're going to see the strength of our God, the one true living God, Yahweh. They're going to see that, right? And what it says, so they should shortly see your salvation from our God, which should come upon you with great great glory and brightness of everlasting, right? They're going to see it, right? Because they have no other choice but to witness the Most High God protecting and saving his people, right? Because for so long they witnessed and participated in the downfall, in the taking down and dismantling of his people. So now they have to witness his people sit at the table and eat like kings. And they sit and watch like servants. Right? Back over here. Let's get Jeremiah 25 real quick before we do that. Jeremiah 25 and 15. Jeremiah 25 and 15 says, for thus said the Lord God of Israel to me, take the wine cup of his fury at my hand, and cause all the nations to whom I have sent thee to drink it. Right? So all the nations got to drink of the cup of God's wrath and fury, because all the nations had a hand in taking down his people and destroying his people in various times of this century, right? Of this whole, of time, right? And we know that because they are consented, they are together, although they get on TV and they fight and they unalive each other on a day-to-day basis. But one thing they do know, do not let the black and Hispanic people become a people. Because then if they become a people, we can fight and kill each other all we want. But if they become a people, it's game over. And they know that. That's why they did this over here real quick. Psalms 83. That's why they did this. It says, verse 3, for they have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. Meaning they come together on their various meetings that they have, their little secret meetings and stuff. They come up with these different plans and how to further oppress, like, the Lord's people and keep us down, right? So they might not always agree on stuff, that's why they always end up going to war. But one thing they do know, do not let the people of God be the people of God, because then they can't be who they are, right? They can't be themselves, because we ain't gonna allow it, because we're gonna be running this earth in righteousness under the authority of our King, the Mashiach Yahushua, who the world calls Christ, under the power of our God Yahweh, right? The Most High God. And believe it or not, these nations don't want that. That's why they act out and do the things they do, right? That's why the world is in a condition that is. Because think about it, Christianity is the biggest religion all over the world. Everybody claim to be Christian in some type of various form, right? But look at the conditions of the world, right? They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. That's the game plan. To cut us off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. That was the plan. That's why we over here calling ourselves all these different bywords and different names and slangs and stuff, instead of calling ourselves the people of God, right? And because we have been cut off from a nation, so they are confederate together. They know when it's time to come together, and who's the enemy. And when they just got beef with each other, they know, right? It's just that we don't know. And that'd be the problem. So back over here. So it says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare a war. So God is telling us, and that's what we're doing. We're proclaiming this amongst the Gentiles. We're telling them, hey, yo, it's about to get ugly. You know what I'm saying? You better, I hope you ain't going to take that from Donald Trump. I know you're going to let Donald Trump and them talk spicy to y'all like that, right? You know what I'm saying? We're telling Trump, hey, Trump, you really, hey, them niggas over, they punks, man. You can do whatever you want. You know what I'm saying? Go over there and sit on their porch and crack a beer on their porch and all that, right? Go on their block, Trump. Do what you do. You know what I'm saying? Go do an Instagram live on their block, and the young boys, they go to their ops block and they be trying to show everybody like, yeah, we on their block. Yeah, Trump, go ahead and do that, right? So so we gotta instigate this thing, right? Yeah, go ahead, right? Because proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare a war, wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near, let them come, right? And that's what the Spirit is going out on these nations, to wake up, to gear themselves up for battle, right? A lot of these nations, they know that this might be the last Ruah, but they say, you know what? We gotta go for what we know, because we can't let these people continue to run. Because I'd rather live like a man, I'd rather die like a man than live like a coward. That's what a lot of these nations gonna start doing. They're gonna come to that realization, like, yo, we ain't going, you know what I'm saying? And that's what we're gonna start to see, because they're telling us, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty man, let all the men of war draw near, let them come, beat your plowshares into swords. So all your little manufacturing companies, whatever you're producing at the moment, stop it. We need you for wartime, right? You doing this for God and country, god dang it. You know what I'm saying? We're going to turn those little pots and pans into bullets and grenades, right? Whatever little stuff you're producing over there now, we manufacturing war equipment and supplies only, right? We need to do this. We need everything we can get. Beat your plowshares into swords and your prune cooks into spears, right? Start mass producing. That's what did Iran tell them? Like, dude, we've been planning this for 40 years. Y'all been playing, thinking that we just over here playing with sticks and rocks. Like, dude, we over here, we got stuff over here, right? It says, beat your plowshares into swords and make your prune hooks into spears. Let the weak say I am strong. And that's what they doing. They like, yo, you may got better technology, but we got strategy, right? And strategy is gonna beat disorganization any day, right? And these people got strategy. And not only do they got strategy, they got the BRIC swap. They got the BRIC swap right behind them. They got Russia and China right there with them, right? Because like it tell us we're over here real quick. Oh my God, we jumping. Let's go to Ezekiel 38 and just start at verse 4. And it says, I will turn ye back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth all thy armies, horses and men with them clothed with all sorts of armor, even great company with bucklers and shields, with all of them handling swords. So it's talking about Russia coming with the armies, bringing everybody that he got, right? The soldiers, his military might. Who's coming with the BRICS? Who is he bringing with the BRICS? It says Persia, which is, we know that's the ancient name for Iran. They're already there. They're there. We're talking about it right now. It's on the news. Ethiopia, they right there. Ethiopia, we talk about this all the time, how Ethiopia was begging Russia, can we please send you some soldiers to help? We want to help. Please let us. We want to hurt somebody so bad for you, Russia. Please. That's what Ethiopia was saying when this thing first started 3-4 years ago. And it says, in Libya, with them. Libya's like, yo, Libya's riding with them. And all of them with them with shields and helmets. Gomer, I believe that's Turkey. Should NATO's talking about dropping, I heard, let me get it right though. But I do know Turkey is going to go with the BRICS, you know what I'm saying? Because Turkey is EU. But Turkey is going with the BRICS. They're supposed to be EU, EU and NATO, right? And I heard something, I don't know, I want to get it right because I really don't, I almost kind of don't want to say it because I'm not quite sure, was it from the other side or was it a NATO country? But I do know they was talking about probably sending it up with Turkey, right? And I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. But yeah, Gomer, Turkey, and all of his band. And with all the Tamar in the North countries and all of his band. So all the little old Soviet Union countries, they're going to come back. Russia going to get, the old USSR thing back going, right? They're trying to stop it. That's why a lot of the Western powers is afraid. Because they're like, man, we don't want that. We don't want a whole bunch of Zangiefs and Goran Dragics running around here, right? Then it says, be thou prepared. So this is the point right here. It says, be thou prepared. And that's what Russia doing. He's being prepared. He's sitting back. He's watching. He's seeing what's going on, right? And it says, and prepare thyself, thou and thy company. So, like, hey, get your armies ready, get them alert, right? It says, that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. That's what's going on. He's being a guard to them. He's sending them military aid. He's sending them weapons. And pretty soon he's going to give them boots on the ground, right? And then we're going to have what we call World War III, Armageddon, and what we're reading about, what our dear brother Joel is telling us right now, right? Because it says, behold, in those days, and at that time shall I bring, jump down. I will gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, right? Because pretty soon America's gonna put boots on the ground. If they can't get past this little blockade that Iran and the other little country got going on over there. I forgot the other little country helping them out right there. And they can't get past that. I mean, they're going to have to invade. They're going to have to put some troops on the ground, right? Then they put troops on the ground. What you think Russia and China and everybody else going to do, right? They told you they've been planning this for 40 years. Trump just got in office and just thought everything was cool. He just looked at the little classified report and like, all right, okay, well, I guess, all right, let's go do it. He never caught the cost. He never counted the cost of war. He just over there listening to BB and them. I'm like, all right, okay, cool, right? These people been waiting. That's what you gotta understand. And Isaiah 14 real quick. And it says, and they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? And that's why a lot of these nations are beginning to look at America as a weak, country now. They're not looking at them as a superpower anymore. Especially if they keep on, they can't get past this blockade. They brought their major, big, strong military carrier over there, got that shit blown up, right? They have to retreat that. That's supposed to be this big, special, intimidating thing. They like, nigga, forget you, and blew that stuff up. Damaged that. They have to swap that out. They're running out of missiles. We're running out of missiles, folks. So that's going on over there, right? So it's crazy. It says, and all, let me read it right. It says, and all they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? And that's what they're looking at. They're looking very weak right now, right? The nations is seeing the crack in the armor, right? They seeing it, right? And they're attacking. They keep hitting that same spot, same spot. They see it. They see the weakness, and there's nothing they can do about it. They over there like Rocky, like, cut me, Doc, cut me. They can't see him. Remember, Rock had to, Rocky getting his butt whooped. His eyes were swollen. Couldn't see nothing. He had to get it cut. Like, cut me, Doc. What I'm saying? They can't see. It's messed up. They blind. It says, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? And that's what they're looking like. They're looking very incapable right now, right? To be the strongest military, right? They act like they're going to do it very quickly, very quickly. 6 weeks, very quickly. Gonna be very roll over real quick. These people, Alexander the Great died on the mountains going to that place thinking that it was cool, right? He thought he can go just march up in there. Alexander the Great died trying to go to that place, right? It's crazy. That is not a hospitable place to go for war, right? It's crazy. They're going to find out. Back over here. That place have the terrain on their side. They got mountains as a natural defense. Then not only they got the mountains, they're landlocked. It's crazy. So it's a military nightmare for to try to plan for, right? But these people just went in there like it was all good. So it says, assemble yourselves and come all ye heathen and gather yourselves together round about hither, because thy mighty ones and cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. So that's what happened. All these nations pretty soon they're gonna come together. All the mighty nations of the world are going to come to do this battle and fight, right? Try to, and they're going to fight. Then it says, let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. And that's what's going down right now. The heathens, the nations are coming to that Middle Eastern, that they all trying to come. And Donald J. Trump is trying to get more to come. He's like, everybody come help me. I'm stuck in the water, fellas. I'm stuck in the water. My boat can't go too far. I need everybody else to come help me. China, do something, please. Do something, China. right? England, Spain, everybody. Send them all, right? That's what he's looking for, because it says, let the heathen be awakened and come to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there I will sit and judge all the heathen round about. So God is going to judge all of them by making them clash and watch them. You know what happened. I ain't got to get all descriptive. And it says, put ye in a sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down and press in full. The fat overflow, for their wickedness is great. So God is going to judge these people for the wickedness that they have done. And he's likening it to like grapes being pressed into a wine press, right? And he's squeezing them into that wine press. And it's crazy to think about when you look at the map over there, that little narrow corridor that I know it's the Gulf, region over there, but I forgot the term that they calling it, that straight over there, the little curve bend thing that they blocking up. So, and it's a little corridor, right? It's a little small area that everybody that is trying to funnel their way into. That's a major, shipping, transportation, port, that everybody, most ships go through. And it's telling us right here, it says, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Get ye down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for the wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of decisions, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decisions, right? And that's what's happened. The day of the Lord is near in the valley of decisions. And he's going to bring them out, right? Because he's bringing them out, and he's going to bring them there, right? And as he bring them there, he's going to send the one and only big homie to finish them off, right? Isaiah 63. Really quick. And it says, who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This is that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in greatness of his strength. I speak in righteousness, mighty to save. So this is Isaiah seeing a vision of Christ coming from after doing battle with these people, right? Getting down with the residue of them, right? Staining his glorious heavenly garments with their earthly blood all over it, right? And it says, I speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thy apparel, and thy garments like him treaded of the wine fat, right? Because again, like we just read, God is likening how he's squeezing all those nations into that valley over there. He's likening it into a grapes being pressed into the wine press. And guess who's doing the pressing? Right? And it says, whereas thou red in the wine in thy apparel, and thy garments like him that trodded the wine fat. I have trodden the wine press alone, and the people there was none with me. So Christ is like, look, I have to get with these nations myself. I have to go and make war and destroy these nations myself. No other kingdom did it. I did it by myself. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe I have to do this by myself, right? This is crazy. That no other nation saw the wickedness and the atrocity that these people are committing and thought enough to do something about it. I have to come and do it, and I did it, right? Hold on real quick, Salakia. Feels like it. We back. Right. So that's what's going down. Right. So it says, I had tried at the wine press alone, and the people there was none with me, for I will tread them in my anger, and I trample them in my fury. So that's how Christ came and got down, right? And that's how he's coming back. He's coming back pissed off, right, at what's going on to his people, right? And we got to understand that he's not coming back in this loving, sweet Jesus, hugging everybody. He's coming back for war and to make war and to destroy these nations for the things they hate that they have done, right? That's what's going down over here. Then it says, I had tried it, the winepress alone, and the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in my anger and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall sprinkle upon my garment, and I will stain all my raiments. So Christ's like, I'm gonna get dirty all my clothes. Like, I bought a whole suitcase of garments, and I plan to get them all bloody in their clothing, with their blood, right? That's the Christ that we serve, right? That's our King, right? The Mashiach Yahweh Shai. That's what he's coming back to do, to save his people, right? That's what's going down, right? Back over here, right? Back over here, back to Joel, and to say this over here really quick, right? Then it says, boom, boom, boom. And it says, the multitudes and multitudes of the valleys of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decisions. And the sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shipping. The Lord also shall roar out of Zion, utter his voice from Jerusalem, and heaven and earth shall shake, but the Lord will be the hope of his people. And that's the thing. We depend on the Most High God. He's going to be our hope in that day. Because, we have, no army, right? We have no military, no navy, none of that stuff to defend us in that day if anything start to happen, right? We have nothing, right? You know what I'm saying? But the Most High God, right? And that's enough, right? That's all we need is the Most High God. Because he protects his people. Right? And it says, and the Lord shall roar out of Zion, and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake, but the Lord will be the hope of his people, and the strength of the children of Israel. So shall ye know that I am Yahweh, God, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no stranger pass through her no more. So meaning, once we get back put in that land, ain't no nation, nobody gonna come and tell us where to go and how to go. They ain't gonna come and oppress us, subjugate us, take us out of that land, never ever again. Because we're gonna be living in righteousness under our King, the Mashiach Yahweh Shai, who the world calls Christ, right? Following our God Yahweh, the Most High God, right? And we're going to be living in righteousness. And no kingdom, no nation on this planet will be stupid enough and be out of their dumb enough to come against us on that day. Right? In that day. Unless they don't want to, ain't nobody going to be that stupid. Actually, going to be one person that's going to be that stupid. So yeah, and you can read about that in Revelation 18, right? 2nd Ezra 13, right? And Obadiah, and a lot of places, right? In Ezekiel 38, back over here though, and it says, it said, boom, boom, boom. And it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and all the rivers of Judah shall flow with waters, and the fountain shall come forth of the house of the Lord, and shall the waters valley the Shittons. Right? So In that day, like I said, so once it's peace on earth and the Israelites is back ruling, we're gonna run this thing in righteousness, right? And it's so because and it's like I said, it says, and it shall come to pass in that day the mountains shall drop new wine, and that new wine is us being the teachers and teaching the world. Like that Bone Thugs song, just change the world, just change the world, right? Like it tells us in Isaiah 61, we will be the light, and the other nations will come to our light, right? So then, as we doing so, that's that new wine, right? That wisdom, because the wine represent that wisdom and understanding, right? And it says, "And the hills shall flow with milk, and all the rivers of Judah shall flow with the waters of the fountains shall come forth, and the house of the Lord shall water the valleys of Shittim." So again, so that so we're gonna get that wisdom, that understanding, that knowledge, that light, that prosperity that the Most High God promises, right? We're gonna once again become that salt of the earth, right? Like Jesus said, we are the salt of the earth, but the salt had lost its favor, right? It's savored, right? So we're gonna get it back, right? And it's gonna be great. It says, Egypt shall be desolate, and Edom shall be desolate wilderness, for the violence against the children of Judah. So why is God doing all of this to these people and paying them back? For the violence against the children of Judah, his people, for the stuff that they have done, right? Because you got to understand, we do, whether you like it or understand it or not, we do serve a God of justice. And he cannot, and you should not want, knowing the history that happened to your people, you should not think nothing, no restitution is going to ever take place, right? I mean, you should not think that. Because, what type of God would he be if he's not a God of justice? Right? That's crazy. Obadiah, right? Really quick. Obadiah 1 and 8, right? It says this, "And shall I not in that day, said the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom?" So again, it says, our dear brother Obadiah talking about even in that day he's going to destroy the wise men even out of Edom, right? So all their top, guys of their nation, their scientists, their advisors, their officials, and noblemen, right? Smarty pants of them, right? The statisticians and all that, right? I shall not in that day, said the Lord, even shall I not in that day, said the Lord, even destroy the wise man out of Edom, and the understanding out of Mount Esau. So that's what he's going to do in that day. He's going to disrupt their whole understanding, and we see that. That's why they're doing this, making all types of stupid and foolish decisions that's about to decimate the whole known world, through their era of stupid decisions that they're making, right? We see these things happening. We see this stuff unfolding at an unprecedented level, right? It says Egypt shall be desolate, and Egypt shall be made desolate, and Edom shall be desolate. Wilderness for the violence against the children of Judah, because they had shed innocent blood in their land, and that's what they do. They shed the innocent blood of our people, right? That's why, oftentimes when it's a unarmed shooting with their officers involving our people, we don't oftentimes expect justice. That's why when stuff like that, we always have to protest and push the issue just to get something, just to even get recognized a lot of times. Because some of these cases that we be seeing on the news, that stuff happened maybe a year or so ago. We just now finding that stuff out because they try to suppress it, right? But It says, and Edom shall be desolate, the wilderness for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed the innocent blood in their land. But Judah shall dwell forever, because God is going to restore his people and protect us in that day. We're not going to have to no longer suffer the violence of these people and how they oppress and worry about and if our life is in a balance dealing with these people when they pull us over, right? We ain't going to have those worries anymore, because it says, but Judah shall dwell in Jerusalem from the generation to generation, and I will cleanse the blood and that have not cleansed, for the Lord dwell in Zion, right? Because the Lord dwells with us, and he's going to protect us, and that's how it's going down. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully that was edifying and all that cool stuff. Till next time, peace. We out. Till next time, shalom. We out.